ACCE, we started this award 9 years ago, and then next year is our 10th anniversary. So I hope on April 9th, 2006, we'll see all of you here in this hotel again. The idea of Winners Club, we've been talking about it for some time, and finally it came into creation as a partnership project with another one that Harvey will talk about, the Book of Our Winners. This Winners Club's purposes are try to serve three groups of people. We want the winners come back to help ACCE to grow for the mission of promote entrepreneurship and to help everybody there to grow in the Canadian, much more competitive in the global economy. That's objective number one, to help our missions. The second mission is to help the community overall, and we can exemplify our recent project by endorsing, supporting Orbis Canada to set up the eye clinic in China. There's a fundraising campaign going on here, and they have a great flying training facility. It's a Boeing 747. So there's a really famous international charity we are endorsing, we're helping. So to help the community is the second objective of this ACCE's Winners Club. The third objective of the people we want to help is every one of us in this room. We have a strong network. The network of friends have lots of resources, maybe expertise, maybe money, maybe network. So you yourself can create an opportunity for yourself to help among ourselves. So that's why the creation, the inception of ACCE's Winners Club, the purpose of that. And it's an informal organization. It's not a registered organization by itself, but something that we want to find our way to how we serve these three groups of people we talk about. So we will be including the winners, we're including some board of directors, including previous presidents, as current president, Matt Lai is our current president, and he'll say something about the whole thing later. If you look back for the three things we want to do, helping the ACCE, which I think most of you have been helping, either sponsorship, doing design, all those things that is so obvious, we're thankful for that. The second part is we can exemplify for the process, we start with Orbis. But the third one of helping us to help ourselves is really exemplified by tonight's event. We are great to have a friend, Business Development Bank, to sponsor this event, to communicate, to help us make our expertise, make our knowledge bigger. So tonight's topic will be greatly trying to help us to strengthen our expertise in a competitive market economy. You can always learn from each other, you can always learn from another expert from the BTC. So with these three objectives, that's what we are moving ahead. Actually, other than this tonight's event, coming Thursday, we have another similar event. It's called Passport to China. It's sponsored by Means and Partners, another our sponsor. It's called How Manufacturers Can Maximize Profits and Minimize Risk, Practical Solutions in Terms of Finance, Business, and Legal Advice. So it will be also held here. So in case you're interested, Thursday morning from 7:30 to 12 with a seminar here, also in Hilton Suites. If you are interested in knowing more how to tap into this growing Chinese market, another forum for us to share the expertise, the experience, and network here. So after tonight's session, you can talk to Evan or talk to me. We'll hook it up, put your name there for another session. So this is the third objective of this ACCE Winners Club. So hopefully, when we continue to do things there, we will jointly prosper and grow together. Thank you.
Talking about the Winner Club, you want to do something for all the winners. So that's why we started the book project. And we have Harvey Lam, he's already started the process, and he will tell you more about the book project.
Hi, good evening. ACCE has started the book project since last year. And it can only be finished a few months later. It takes almost 2 years to complete. And just because of this, we can believe in the quality of the book. The prime purpose of the book is to help readers to learn about starting and developing business in Canada from the success stories of different winners. And in fact, it's the first book from ACCE, another good product to come. And apart from the prime purpose, there will be some good side effects, obviously. I deeply believe that the name of ACCE and all the winners will be enhanced, hence, increasing the positive influence of ACCE. And through this recurring process, I believe ACCE can be more contributing to the community, not just to the Chinese community. And apart from the success stories, we also include a new chapter into the book. And this idea is supported by all the participants. That is, we have a new chapter with the theme, words of wisdom from each winner about how to help, how to give advice to new immigrants, especially to new immigrants in Canada. So we look forward to the publishing of this book, and the date is already fixed, which is, as mentioned by Wilbert, April 9th, 2006. And thank you for your support, and I wish you can help marketing the book, not for profit, but for, helping the community. Thank you.
I won't forget our favorable president, Fred Lai.
Hi folks, I'm so grateful that you come to support ACCE. I never feel like a president before until today. Thanks for your support, and as I like to point it out to you though, one of our mandate is social responsibility within entrepreneurs. So don't be surprised that one day you receive a call from me. Don't hang up though, knowing that it's Fred Lai. I may ask you to donate an unthreatening amount towards Orbis Canada, which ACCE has endorsed. Orbis Canada is a charitable organization providing eye care training to third world country or poor country, whatever you can call them, or rural area, so, to help them to train their doctors so that they can give eye care. So many of them, of the patient can be cured with just some common knowledge of eye care. So this is a good cause, and I plead on their behalf to you, please don't hang up on me when I call you. Okay, apart from that, ACCE Take It to the Action is another program called Employment, Language and Mentorship Program, which ACCE has a stable of winners like yourself who you are very instrumental to the success of this program, and very fortunate we did a good job last year with a short period of time. The federal government, Immigration and Citizen has granted another funding for 3 organizations, including ourselves, to carry on with this project. It's a very meaningful project, and with your support providing the job shadowing program, I'm sure it will be very successful again. Other than that, I was told by my VP that I have to mention about the nomination. If you know any of your friend or your business friend who may be qualified, please, by all means, nominate them, because it's the 10th anniversary, and most of all, it's a very special year for us, and the first time in our history we have a title sponsor, Business Development Bank of Canada. Now, Tony, it's only 2 minutes. Now, actually, I have to mention BDC. I'm so grateful to them. The reason why I won the Best Startup Award in year 2000. Actually, I didn't do too much. However, I impressed the judging panel so much by my report, which actually was done by BDC. People say, well, you have good leadership with ACCE. I'm telling you, I don't think so. I'm a very goofy person. But anyway, I'm here. I'm glad to be here. Hopefully, in the next couple of years, nothing major happens. Talking about the BDC, Richard Wu, your keynote speaker. Later on, Stephen will introduce him. Okay. With him, he worked with me. Make a plan, and I follow it faithfully. And he told me that, you know what problem you have, Fred? He said, you are the problem. So I took it to heart. So what I did, I took myself out of the picture. I started to delegate. As a result, my company has grown 2 or 3 times since 2000, year 2000. Thank you to you, Richard. And I don't want to hold you up for too long.
So now I would like you to invite our facilitator, Stephen Wong, who is also the winner for 2005, and he will introduce our speaker for tonight.
Oh, the picture looks very different by standing here. I'm very surprised that the Fred can be so graceful and making all these jokes and so feels so at home. It's an honor for me to introduce a speaker. But before I introduce a speaker, I would like to indicate, okay, so far I was sitting there and I'm observing and found out there's some very interesting characteristics coming out from the winners. Okay, number 1 is your determination and focus. I understand some winners came from far away. What's the furthest away that people arrived?
Waterloo.
Waterloo.
Wow, that's a long way.
Can the person from Waterloo stand up? I call it support, right, Fred? I mean, you should call Waterloo first. And the second is the ability to focus and listen. Okay, some of you may be wondering how come we have speaking and then we have music at the same time. It's actually a test to say whether you have the determination and focused listening, your ability to filter out noise and select the real stuff to listen. And lastly, the characteristic of the winners I would like you all to show at the end is the give and contribution. Not money, but your knowledge. Okay? With that, I was very proud and very, very proud that to introduce the speaker for tonight. And his name is Richard Wu. And I have a full page of his biography, but I would give you the summary. Richard has been with the BDC for 10 years. And the reason he's able to speak to us, not because he is with BDC for 10 years and BDC write a good report for him and all that stuff. No. Okay? It only happened with Fred, but not with Richard. The reason he's able to talk to us because Richard has been the president of a subsidiary of Imperial Oil, and he's able to bring the company from $30 million to $60 million in only 3 years. I can really appreciate that. Okay, I tried to increase my margin by $10,000. It took me 5 years. And he also did a lot of work for the East Indian companies, again, help them to grow. And as a matter of that, this event has been recorded in the Globe and Mail article. So today he is focused in strategic planning, marketing, and growth strategies. Let's welcome Richard Wu and listen to his wisdom.
Great, thank you. Let me tell you, first of all, last Friday I was in Montreal, and I was with my mother. And when I told her that I was going to be speaking at a Chinese association meeting, I asked her, please, prime me and refresh some of my Chinese. And so the evening wore on. I think she got very frustrated. And then she said, look, why don't you just tell them your name and where you're from? So was in Wu-En-Gay, 我廣州出世嘅，我3歲嗰間奶。That's okay, good. Yes, I think it's so important that we're here today in an environment of sharing and sharing of knowledge. My presentation today is not a one-way presentation. It's really, I like to get some feedback, and hopefully you can share with some of your experience. Some of you both had successes in what you have done. So I'm really here to, share some of my experiences with you and on a particular topic, and see if it has any relevance with you, and see if you can identify with the topic that I'm going to speak about. Before I do that, though, Tracy indicated in your bag there's a report called the 6 Stages of Growth. Right, okay. It's a report that was done for the Ontario Ministry of Economic Development. I did not do this report, so it's not my report. All right. The only thing I was going to say about this report is that this was done, a survey of 742 respondents of leading growth firms in Ontario. And their definition of leading growth firms were they had to have between 20 and 500 employees, and with sales growth of 50% or more in 3 years. That was their definition. And the reason for this report was aimed at helping growth companies such as yourself benchmark best practices, understand where your situation is, and plan for eventuality as you go through the various stages of growth. The 6 stages of growth that they identified was a one-person organization, when you first start up, you and yourself. Stage 2, you gain early successes. Then you begin to operationalize. You get to a people crunch, when people need to be added to your organization. And then professionalizing your organization. And then finally, the 6th stage at the end of us, when you incorporate. Now, I'm not going to go through all this because I didn't write the report. I think it's pretty valid when you go through it yourself. And you'll see charts such as this, depending on what stage you're at. Stage 1, 2, or 3. The survey came back, for example, in stage 5, 40% of people saying that developing strategy is one of my key top priorities. Well, that's what these CEOs, presidents of their own company, indicated. Over here, as you move up the stages, I have a formal management structure. So things like that is what you're going to see. So it's important, if you go through, identify yourself in your organization, what stage you think you're at. And look at the characteristics and benchmark yourself against some of these very successful companies. So that's all I'm going to say about this, and you can read that at your leisure. What I am going to talk to you about is a topic called high impact marketing. Now, high impact marketing, I don't know of any organizations who have unlimited resources that they can spend as much as they want and on a marketing budget. So especially when you're growing through stages, I think it's really important that you try to get the best out of your limited resources. That's what high impact marketing is about. It's a focused sales and marketing strategy for prospecting and developing and building customer equity. So the key word is focus. And really, there's a paradox. It's really about getting smaller to get bigger. So narrow your focus on where you want to go in your markets so that you can expand. Now, why is high impact marketing so important? Well, marketing covers a whole realm of things. Advertising, distribution channel management, pricing strategy, and all. What I'm about to talk to you about is the target marketing. It's the strategic side of where should I go to look for my business? And how do I go about doing that? It's about choosing your customers, narrow your focus, and then dominate your space. So when you can identify what space is best fitted for you in your marketplace, then you begin to dominate that space through high impact marketing. Why the need? Well, selling in today's climate is very complex. I don't have to tell you how complex it's getting every day. You have the user influence, the person who's going to buy it. Then you got someone who's a technical influencer who may be completely different. You get the financial person who writes the check. And then you get competition in place. And as you're selling, you don't know at times who is making that influence in that decision. Is it the user, the technical individual, or the financial guy? How often have you done a deal where the customer says, yep, I'm going to love your stuff, I'm going to buy it. All of a sudden the financial guy says, no, you're not. Because he signed his checks and for whatever reason. The second reason for this is this. Unless you have such a unique value proposition, you can't possibly sell to everybody in the marketplace. We try to. Many of us try to sell to everybody. Many of us, whenever the phone rings, will spend all the time on that phone and not necessarily the right customer. So time is often wasted working on less than ideal customers. Now, key is not all prospects are ideal customers. Part of the process I should take you through a presentation. How do I know what's an ideal customer? Well, let's go through it. One thing that's also changing is that the marketplace is broken up into more fragmented market sectors. Individualism is key. You all want something your way because you value me and me first. It's not like 100 years ago when you can make a car and make it black and that's it, and everybody will buy your car. Everybody has their own unique demands. So there's a lot of more categories out in the marketplace to identify. I mean, when you look at Marketing 101, everybody says, go segment your marketplace. So how do I segment it? Years and years ago, smaller segments. Now there's tons of segments. Look at the demographics, age, ethnic groups. I mean, just Toronto is changing so much in the last 2-3 decades. More segments. But the key to doing high-impact marketing is also it's a better match for a win-win situation. Look, none of us want to sell to a customer and the customer gets what he wants at a good price, but you don't get the price that you want. That's not a good, that's a win-lose situation. Nor do you want to have a win-lose situation where you win and the customer doesn't like what you got. High-impact marketing is about finding exactly where you fit best in the marketplace. And then lastly, more productivity. Because with limited resources, why do you want to spend all your time chasing the wrong market sector? Try to find ways to find the right fit. Well, what are the elements of a high-impact marketing? One, you need a clear value proposition. How do you explain to somebody why I should do business with you? You know, you hear the old elevator analogy. If I'm going up down the elevator, if you can't explain to me by the time I get down to the down floor why I should buy business from you, then you really haven't thought through what is it that you have that's unique. You need to do a lot of soul searching and finding your market segment, your space through research and customer feedback. Now, it does not need to be expensive. You know, am I going to incur all kinds of touch on market research? I'll tell you, the internet is a fabulous place to find lots and lots of information about your customers. Ideal customer profiling. Go back to one of your ideal customers that you've had, and have you ever sat back and said, what were the reasons, what characteristics of that customer make that customer ideal to me? From there, you'll learn a lot from where you should go next. I'll bring up to you a term, which I'll explain a little later. It's called work the adjacencies. Don't worry about the word. What does that mean? I'll tell you about it in a second. Work the adjacency. And then finally, leverage the high influencers and connectors. Find people who can connect you immediately, mass. I mean, look at the Chinese associates you got here. If anybody want to do business, look at the outreach you have. As an example. Okay, so if this represents the total market, all customers, you want to find the ideal customer within that market. In time, you'll have a whole bunch of ideal customers within your market. Here's a case case study of an organization. I guess this company did some business with Fred before. And they went through a process. On the left-hand side is price. So who's going to pay for a low price, or who's going to pay for a higher price? And at the bottom is your product or service offering, low offering, high offering. They did a macro analysis, and the products that they were selling were going into buildings. They were going to the buildings. So they broke their business segments into school market, college market, the medical market, government, commercial banks, and found that in a broad sense, because they want to be up here, people who understand or pay the premium for a value product, that the school market would pay for that, and the university and college market, and the medical. And yet down here, the research told government on the broad stroke, well, they want value, but they weren't willing to pay the price for it. Now, it does not mean that every single school is a right customer. All right, this is just a broad look at the market segments that they put into these boxes. And over here, well, other industries that they were not interested. But out of this process, they found something interesting. This box, who would pay high price for a low value? Anybody think?
I'll do it.
You're an ideal customer. Well, they found that people who were under emergency situations, the building went down. I don't care how much it costs, get me your product, I'll pay whatever. It's great. Right? Unfortunately, you can't always predict who's going to go down on an emergency at times. So they stuck to this model, but these were the market segments they were going to go after and concentrate on. That led them to organize their business into vertical markets. They call them vertical markets. So you get the school market, because the school market, kindergarten, grade 12, was different from a university. In the university market, much bigger, more, the buyer is more intellectual, technically. The school market, not as technically. The medical market was different. There was a high need for making sure things worked in the medical market, and then ranked in government. So they ranked the system in terms of priorities. But then they went further. So just because I'm going after the school market as an example, can you see? Okay? And if you're the vendor, and here's your customer, and remember I talked about the value proposition. What is your value proposition? In their case, this supplier sold something on a very high value, very high price. So that's where they were offering is. Through their research, they begin to find school markets, school customers who understood that. So the research did things like, well, what schools would pay high price and want good value? The demographics would tell you that we went into the outer fringe areas, not in the urban areas. So when we go in, a lot of their business is in the States, they did not go into the downtown heart of the century. Typically they're poor. Lack of funding. They would go to an area like Markham. Income levels were higher. Parents understood the need to have their kids go to a better school and better school buildings. They did research based on, well, which state and governments were funding these schools. Where was the money? That research brought them to identify the ideal customers. So if you're going to try to go after this market, which was not an ideal customer, chances are you're going to waste your time. Only end up, you do all this work and thank you. You know, I just wanted a price. I just wanted a quote and move on. Have you ever had that? Anybody? Yeah?
Too often.
Too often? Yeah. Well, I remember when we were, 4 years ago when I was Fred, the phone was ringing off the hook, and he couldn't keep enough business going, and he actually had to say no, right? Had to say no to certain customers.
That's why I lost all my hair.
Yeah. Right. In time, if you look at your business models, and if your markets are broken up by vertical markets, schools, colleges, university, medical, and if you're at the high end of your value proposition, your business is going to be all across the high value, the tip of the iceberg, across all vertical markets, not the bottom. Now, you don't have to be at the tip of the market because your value proposition might be different. You might say, I don't have a price, I don't have a value, but I'm willing to sell my product at the lowest price. That's fine. So that's your value proposition. But don't expect that to go in the market where they're asking for a high value. Look what you can do when you break your business into vertical markets. Your marketing can be all focused into vertical markets. So here's an example. The marketing brochure is only kindergarten to grade 12. Then they had another brochure for universities, and another one for the medical market. Because the language they talk about is different, is unique amongst the different markets. From the user standpoint, the impression is, gee, you only do business in my market? Yeah, we only sell to K-12 here, or only universities. Wow, you must be the expert in this market. Now, think about your business as a cube, all right? If your business is a vertical market, well, all the school markets could be going up and down one vertical market, the colleges, medical. But look at what happens when you have this way. You can have products that go across all the vertical markets, channels, and geography, and more. Now I tell you, if you ever get to a point where you're big enough to have a manager in each one of these, a manager for the medical market, a manager for colleges, a manager for products, a manager channel, you're going to be a pretty large company. So now that you've broken up your business in these components, you can begin the process of dominating. If you look at this square in the middle, as an example, and I always like the cube, right? You take the cube, and the cube has 6 sides. And this is where I bring the term adjacencies. So if one side of your cube, let's say you're selling to a university in Toronto, successfully, an ideal customer, why won't you go to the second university in Toronto? And the third one? And so forth. As opposed to go to university all the way across the country first. It's just a matter of where your priorities are. Look what else you can have. You can have product technologies. So if you have technology that you're selling to an individual account, what's the next product that's close that you can bring into that market? Work the adjacency, so step by step. So imagine each square. If I go backwards here, oops, work this square as your next opportunity as opposed to a square out there is your best opportunity. In time, your businesses can be compartmentalized in these boxes. K-12, college, medical, commercial, entertainment. Right? So in summary, what is the process? The process, first look, segment your market opportunity into well-specific defined goals. What do you want to do? What are your goals? And what is your value proposition? Develop an ideal customer profile. What criteria do you know from the best customer that you got? What was that profile like? Supported by market research. Do your market research. And again, I tell you, This company did their market research by hiring students in the summertime. It wasn't very expensive. They had a process that they took to train the students to, and they got the data. The data honed in and said, this is the prime target that you should go after. Do not go after, more importantly, do not go after these customers because they don't represent the ideal customer profile to me. Then develop your product strategies around what is your ideal customer profile. Have a strategic selling process, lead generation, lead management. And then finally, leverage the high influence connectors. There are people, when you do a vertical market program, for example, there's an expert in the K-12 market or the medical market or a college market who can connect you. If Fred, for example, is a president of a Chinese association, well, there's somebody who's the president of a school association, and so on, to leverage you into that market with big contacts and great contacts. Right? And finally, look, if you're going to embark upon high-impact marketing, and I don't have to tell all of you, you've been very successful here because it's going to require passion, which you already have, courage, and commitment. I know last week you said we should have a fourth item, Stephen, and that's wisdom. So that's my presentation. It's on high-impact market. I hope that as you grow your business, you consider the fact that you should look at narrowing your business and understand where you should go after, and more importantly, where you should not go after. And then when you figure out where you want to go after, then dominate your space. Good. I'm open up to any questions that you may have.
Even before I mentioned his name. You know why he did that? Because he know I might forget his name. By doing that, I don't have to say, what's your name again? Let's welcome Robert from the manager of BDC, Robert Dubie, to say a few words.
Thank you, Stephen. I would like to first thank Richard for this very interesting presentation. I'm a little bit surprised there was no question at the end because this was so interesting and unique in some ways.
Maybe I didn't get the opportunity. I don't know.
Yeah.
He will start the session later.
Okay, no problem.
I'll pick it up later, it's okay.
Listening to Richard, there's a few keywords and concepts that came to mind that were really interesting. One was narrow your focus. I think it's really important to really focus and be successful in business. And the other one was dominate your space. In today's environment, like you pointed out, the market is changing really quickly, and you really have to choose your battle and take your clients. Get to the decision maker. How many of us have done approaches that last for months to find out at the end of the day that you were talking to the wrong person, you were not talking to the decision maker, the person that was in position to actually make the call on buying or not your products. Another concept that works in pretty much everything in life is win-win propositions. Like it has to be a win-win proposition, otherwise the relationship won't last. And the cost of acquiring a new client is so much that it's not even worth it to start a relationship with a situation that is not win-win. Higher productivity, that's really important too. Like Canada especially has some productivity gap compared to other countries, and it's very important that we narrow that gap to, as a nation, be more successful in the long run. Leverage your connections, that's really important too. We always forget to leverage your connection, and connection means existing client, and like you mentioned, leaders in different industries or association. What is your ideal customer? And also profile them, study them, research your market. Those are very interesting concept, and it's really important. Just going to say a few words about BDC as well. Lots of you may not know BDC. We're the only bank with a consulting group division. So we provide consulting in pretty much in every aspect of what a business would need. We're talking about marketing, obviously. There's also production efficiency, how to become more productive. Research and development tax credit, like the SHRED program. That's money that often entrepreneurs don't know that is available for them. That's the largest grant that the government has around. It's billions of dollars, and lots of entrepreneurs don't know they have access to that pool of money. If you don't know, your competitor probably know, and they have a competitive edge if you don't maximize or leverage that. BDC also is one of the only banks who would provide cash flow-based lending. So to deal with BDC, you don't need hard collateral like buildings or equipment. As long as you have an established cash flow, we're there to support you. It's really important too with management buyout situation where you have a big impact on the balance sheet. And with the demographic, Richard touched about demographic as well. Like in Canada, we have lots of the boomers that will retire in the next 5 to 10 years. So that will create lots of opportunities to all of you to do acquisition. So BDC also help company to grow. Like with BDC, we're basically a company that help financing the growth. And that if you want to remember BDC by a few words, we finance growth, we cash flow-based lender, and we offer flexibility and leverage for building equipment and working capital as well. So Stephen, I believe you want to open the floor for questions, or?
And more than that.
More than that? Okay,
Okay.
so we'll pass the mic to Stephen, and thanks for coming.
Thank you, Rich. We really want to understand what you're saying. I'm in the e-commerce, market, and computer training. So according to what you're saying, adjacency and vertical and all that stuff. So you don't think it's a good advice for me to start a daycare center?
Well, absolutely, it's a great idea to start a daycare center. But when you do your research. What value are you going to add to this daycare center? What are you going to make it that's unique to anybody else? And how do you develop your value proposition as a daycare center? So me as a parent, why would I want to come to your daycare center versus anybody else's? And then from there, once you understand what your value proposition, what markets are you going to go after? Are you going after a geographical market? An ethnic market of daycare? Is there an age range? Is there a social demographic market you're trying to reach? Those are all elements.
Richard, I get too confused. Sorry. It sounds very encouraging. So that what it means is to have another market doesn't have to be related to what I'm doing. Is that correct? As long as the market research tell me it's a go, then it's a go.
That's right. So if you're in a business, for example, of education through e-commerce, well, your product adjacency is education. Currently, you're doing it electronically. Well, what other markets can you go through educating? Because you already have the expertise in education. So the step towards your next market, such as a nursery, could be an easier step as opposed to you taking your next step rather than education. I want to become a manufacturer. It may or may not be, a worthwhile cause when you have some adjacencies right next to you.
Okay. Then I have another very important question for you. Okay. You guys can ask too. Don't make me on that question. You keep talking about the importance of market research, right? How do I know the market research that I do is enough? How do I know the direction, the conclusion coming out from my market research is the correct one?
When you do market research is best when you get feedback from your potential customers. So you can do all the research you want, you may draw the wrong conclusion, but there's nothing as important as sharing that, having a focus group with your customers or potential customers. What do you think? What do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I missing something? And the end game is like, I can't say enough about doing market research, focus group, and whether you decide to invest, continue based on market, there's a whole process that you go, no go, depending on the feedback you get. Okay. Look at the quality of where your research is coming from. Are you getting research from independent association articles? Is it supported by other people? Test those research findings with others.
Thank you.
Try to take the complication out of marketing as best as I can. All right. I know a lot of organizations, and rightfully so, have spent millions of dollars doing the profiling and the surveys, and they do, and that's great, and they succeed that way. But in reality here, these are small business individuals that you operate. And you may not be able to afford a Bay Street consulting firm at this stage. You may do one, so, high impact marketing is about, well, how can I leverage that in the space of a limited budget? And it starts right with your individual ideal customer that you have now. Go back to the one, can anybody identify what an ideal customer that you have right now? You got ideal customers? Mm-hmm. Yeah? So, have you gone through profiling of that ideal customer that you have? What are the characteristics of that ideal customer? Why did he buy from you?
Never ask the question why it is priced like that. Place an order without any question. It doesn't matter when you deliver them. That's my ideal customer.
That's right. So that's one starting point. Go back to your ideal customers and work through all the aspects that got you to get him or her to buy from you. It starts there.
Okay.
This case study, we were looking at a university market. And because the product that this customer was selling was environmentally friendly, it was a high price, but it had a life cycle cost to it. Our research brought us to an ideal customer to which we closed inside of 3 months, a $300,000 deal. It was at Duke University in Raleigh, in Durham, North Carolina. The research indicated that, one, Duke University was a private university, so we like private university in this case, as opposed to a public university. The public university, you got to go through state money and what have you. The private university had more discretion. But the number one factor that they profile as a characteristic was, at Duke University, Duke University will give preference to those suppliers who are environmentally conscious. And they actually spelled out ISO 14001. A few years ago, this customer, through the BDC, got their ISO 14000. So, when you have that profiling in place, they were very green, very conscientious, giving preference to environmentally friendly. It was a no-brainer when you met with them. This customer had all the characteristics. You almost play back their own mission statement to them, and there was a fit. Adjacency, the next thing that we did was took this Duke University, which was in Durham, went over to University of North Carolina, right across the street. In fact, Duke University even introduced the client to University of Carolina. I have somebody over there you should meet. Great. And then from there, you went to a school district, a big, large school district, because they were all connected and it's geographical. In terms of adjacency, Duke University also had a medical, right? Some universities have medical building. So they introduced a university to the next adjacency, which was the medical center. So everything's now, going from there. As far as leveraging the contacts, well, this one individual at Duke University was on an association of local university facility managers, and similar to what you guys are here doing with Frick. Got them all together.
And we all believe.
Obviously with the cost.
Well, the one thing I also mentioned in my last slide, it takes passion, courage, and commitment. Quite often when we make investments, we look for the hard paybacks. Marketing is not necessarily, am I going to get it or not get it? It's more difficult. So one, you need to understand Do you have the courage and believe in yourself that through your marketing efforts, you're going to pay back? 2, if you look at outstanding companies, there's benchmarks that you can follow in terms of what percentage of your marketing sales do you spend. Well, a lot of outstanding companies will spend about 5, 6, 7% of the marketing budget. If you look at R&D companies, they'll spend about 12, 13, 14% at minimum. So if you look at some of those benchmarks, you get some flavor of, yeah, well, they're successful. Are they successful because they spent the money and got the results? And then I can't say enough about the internet marketing. You know, play it smart, get yourself in contact with, if you can't do it in your organization, hook up and find people who can deliver you quality marketing. Please don't understand what your objectives are, right? If your objectives are growing your business from $1 million to $20 million and you want a limited budget, then your objectives may or may not be too high. In limited budgets, it's about playing it smart to understand from your budget where you can make the best bang for your buck. I met someone in the audience earlier this morning who talked about the value of press media. Who was that? Was Alex? Was Alex here? No, okay. He was telling me how much media exposure, and he said we couldn't begin to pay for free advertising in the media. There are ways to do that. The fact that you guys are joining associations and the connections that you have, ways to do that. You don't necessarily have to spend lots of money in print advertising, media advertising. Look at the values of your individual results from case studies that you perform. Those are areas that should be leveraged without paying big bucks. When I talk about market research, the internet is so valuable if you can just take the time. And just like I said, you can pay a student to do the research for you. And as long as you have a key criteria.
Thank you. Oh, you already have the ocean in Chinese. Do you have one in English? The tipping point beyond the core. Now here's another one for you to choose from.
Steve, let me take a notebook.
No, this is used, no good. That's correct, okay. I forget this gentleman's name from Canadian business, and he donated another lucky draw. It's 1 year subscription of business Canadian businesses, correct? Thank you, thank you. And Kate prefer your gift over this wonderful English book.
Can I have a business card?
Give her a business card because she is going to send magazines to you. And so you don't have to go and pick it up. Okay, the next draw, can we have Robert come and do the draw? Wonderful. Oh, you can read the Chinese, it's okay.
Yeah.
Loretta Lam. I know, so it's cheating.
Okay, what is this?
This is called a very powerful marketing book. And someone got us in Chinese. You want one in English? Okay, the tipping point. Thank you. Next, okay, Tracy, you want to come in and do one? We'll have to invite BDC to come out because after all, this is their lunch. This is their dinner. And this is their wine. Wonderful. Stephen, no. This is from Fred Quine from Wallong Label. You can pick one. How to communicate with my wife. Okay, next why don't we ask Fred, okay? Fred to pick the last winner. That's okay.
Yeah, it's the same one, right?
There's two from the same company.
Same from the company.
Yeah, so we...
Two parts. Yeah, okay.
Did you mind that only one company get the prize? Because we are really under budget. Your name was being picked. That's okay? Thank you. We give you an additional coffee. Charles Chu. Hey, come on out. You talk about value proposition, right? You will love this. This go beyond the core. Thank you, everyone.